Why did it feel like the whole world paused for a moment? When the news broke that Diane Ladd had passed away, something inside Hollywood and beyond seemed to go quiet. Not the usual kind of quiet that follows a headline, but the kind that comes when you realize someone truly irreplaceable is gone. She was 89, at home in Ojai, California, with her daughter, Laura Dern, her other half, her reflection, her heartbeat holding her hand. And when Laura shared her mother's final words with the world, it didn't read like a statement. It read like a prayer. She wrote, "My amazing hero and my profound gift of a mother, Diane Ladd, passed with me beside her this morning. She was the greatest daughter, mother, grandmother, actress, artist, and empathetic spirit that only dreams could have seemingly created. We were blessed to have her. She is flying with her angels now." People read those words and stopped scrolling, because behind them was something deeper than grief. It was legacy. Diane Ladd wasn't just a performer who played characters on a screen. She was a force. There was always this spark in her sharp, unfiltered reel. The kind of energy that doesn't just command attention. It reshapes the room. When the tributes started flooding in, they weren't polished or rehearsed. They were raw. You could feel that everyone who had crossed paths with her had been changed in some way. Bruce Dern, her ex-husband and Laura's father, spoke first. Their history was complex, filled with both love and distance, but what he said cut through every layer of time. He called her a hidden treasure. He said that it wasn't until David Lynch cast her in Wild at Heart that the world finally saw what he'd always known, that she was extraordinary. And then, with quiet pride, he added that she had been a wonderful mother to their incredible wonderkin daughter. It was tender, unexpectedly. The kind of tribute that doesn't just honor someone's career, but the human beneath it. That phrase, hidden treasure, caught fire online. People repeated it not because it sounded poetic, but because it felt true. Diane Ladd's brilliance was never about fame or noise. It was the kind of quiet greatness that doesn't need to shout to be remembered. Then there was Nancy Sinatra. Her post wasn't polished or performative. It was intimate. She shared an old black-and-white photo of the two of them, young, fearless, full of stories yet to be lived, and wrote that Diane was one of her dearest friends. They had raised their kids together, made movies, laughed through the chaos, and somehow managed to grow up without losing their spark. She was a great lady, Nancy wrote. A fun pal. A fine writer. I will miss her painfully and, yes, joyfully. But what she shared next stopped everyone mid-scroll. An email. Something Diane had written years ago that suddenly felt prophetic. Diane had written, "We are all in this together. Let the children of this world stand on our shoulders in the hopes that they may see further than we have. Let us and our children be kinder, less judgmental, regardless of race or religion or the size of the pocketbook. Let me wish each one of you all that I wish myself, and more, that by this time next year, we have truly begun to fulfill our destinies with joy and much love and light." Reading those words, it was impossible not to feel like she was still speaking to us, guiding us, reminding us of what actually matters. It wasn't just a note, it was a manifesto for kindness. Nancy ended her tribute simply. "God will bless you. I know, dear friend. You are one of his special angels." And then, quietly, Martin Scorsese spoke. The man who helped bring Diane to the world in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore remembered her not just as an actress, but as an artist who gave everything, every glance, every breath to her work. It's strange, isn't it? How someone's passing can make us see them more clearly than ever before. Diane Ladd had been there all along, shining. Fierce, unforgettable, and yet it's only now, in the silence she left behind, that we realize just how much of Hollywood's soul was hers. And maybe that's the real story here. Not about loss, but about presence. About how one woman could touch so many lives just by being unapologetically herself. Diane didn't just live in the spotlight, she lit it. And now, wherever she is, that light still burns. Martin Scorsese said he had so many good memories from Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. But when he talked about Diane, his tone softened, like he was remembering sunlight. He said that on that set, what mattered most was giving the actors space to breathe, to explore, to become. And Diane, she didn't just step into her role, she exploded into it. He called it an experience to watch her bring Flo to life. Vivid, funny, magnetic. You could almost hear the admiration in his voice when he added that she was a master of improvisation, not because of technique alone, but because of instinct, discipline, and something rarer, pure artistry. Then, almost wistfully, he said he wished they could have worked together again. It felt like he was talking about an artist who never stopped painting, even when no one was watching. Someone whose every performance was a living, breathing brushstroke. Then came a post from Sean Tube, who played Diane's son in the pilot of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. It wasn't long or polished. Just a single photo of Diane with a caption that read, "Very sad to hear of the passing of Diane Ladd. Although her time as part of the Dr. Quinn family was short, she made a huge impact in all of our lives. Rest in peace, Ma." That one line. Rest in peace, Ma said everything. Because that's how people remembered her. Not just as a movie star, but as Ma. A steady, nurturing presence who made everyone around her feel seen. Actress Sharon Lawrence reposted Variety's tribute and called Diane one of the all-time greats. But it was what she did next that really said it all. She went back to one of Diane's old posts, where Diane had written something about peace and harmony. Sharon commented, "Thank you for your wisdom." It was simple but powerful, and that word wisdom kept showing up everywhere, in every tribute, every comment, every quiet remembrance. It was like everyone who'd ever known Diane carried a little of that wisdom with them, like a spark she'd passed on without even trying. So what was it about her that left such a mark? Was it her raw performances, the humor, the honesty, or was it something deeper? Those who knew her best say she carried light. Not the kind that just makes a scene brighter, but the kind that changes how you see the whole thing. Diane Ladd could play anyone, a sinner, a saint, a fragile heart, a wildfire, and somehow, every time she made you believe it. Maybe that was her secret. She didn't just act, she felt. And by doing that, she made us feel, too, and yet through every role, every storm, every reinvention, she somehow always stayed Diane, unapologetically herself, truthful, fearless, unfiltered. She was a woman who took heartbreak and turned it into strength, who turned loss into lessons, and pain into something close to poetry. Every scar she carried ended up on screen not as a wound, but as a story. Maybe that's why her death feels so heavy, so haunting. Because she didn't just leave behind a body of work. She left behind pieces of herself woven into every frame, every line, every look that ever made you stop and feel something real. In the days since Diane Ladd passed, Laura Dern has barely spoken publicly. Just one post, a quiet thank you to everyone for their love and prayers. But even in that silence, it feels as though her mother's voice is still present, whispering through the stillness, guiding her the way she always did. Someone close to Laura said that Diane once taught her something she never forgot. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the proof that you've lived fully. It's easy to imagine Laura now, standing in that warm Ojai home that holds a lifetime of memories. The walls are covered with old movie posters, corners filled with framed photographs from decades of laughter, triumphs, and quiet afternoons. There's the scent of old books and garden flowers lingering in the air, the soft hum of a place that has known both art and love. A daughter surrounded by the traces of a mother who never really left, holding on to her legacy, not with sorrow, but with reverence. That home must feel quieter now, but not empty, because silence has a way of speaking when it's filled with memory. And maybe that's the essence of who Diane Ladd truly was. Hollywood will keep showing her films, keep quoting her lines, and keep celebrating her awards. But none of that really captures her soul. Because Diane didn't just perform, she lived in every frame. Every expression, every glance carried truth. She had this rare gift of making people see themselves in her characters, no matter how flawed or complicated they were. You didn't just watch her, you felt her. She brought humanity to every role, whether she was playing strength or fragility, humor or heartbreak. Her work reminded audiences that life itself is a performance of contradictions, messy, beautiful, unpredictable. And that's why her absence feels so profound. It's not the kind of loss that fades after the news cycle ends. It lingers, softly, like the echo of her voice on set or the glimmer in her eyes when she'd improvise something magical. Even as Hollywood continues to honor her, it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels more like a transition, a deep breath before the next act. Because legends like Diane Ladd don't disappear when the credits roll. They live on in the stories, in the people they've touched, in the emotions they've awakened. She's still here, humming quietly in the background of every scene she once graced. Somewhere between memory and eternity. So when Laura Dern whispered, "She's flying with her angels now," maybe it wasn't a goodbye. Maybe it was,